Lake Board meeting on Thursday, April the 24th, 2025. If we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, good afternoon, everyone. It looks like we got a full house and millions watching on TV, I'm sure. So having said that, I'll open it up for public comment. And if you're here for public comment on the Wabeek Lake Board meeting, please come up to the microphone to my right and your left, and we'll give it a few minutes to see. And looks like no one's going to comment today. Okay, thank you. And item number 3, consider appointment of the Lake Board chairperson. Martin?
I move we appoint Mike McCree as chair of the Wabeek Lake Board.
Support?
Support.
So all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, passes 4-0. Thank you. Item number 4, consider appointment of the Lake Board treasurer and secretary. I'd like to nominate our clerk, Martin Brook. Is there support?
Support.
Support. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Would you like to say any words of
I hope to do a
acceptance
good
speech?
job.
Thank you. Me too. Item number 5, approve hearing of assessment meeting minutes of April 10th. Any comments on the meeting minutes or any changes or adjustments you'd like to make?
I move to approve as presented.
Okay, support.
Support.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that passes. Item number 6, review 2024 lake maintenance. Bill? Paul, excuse me, Paul.
Yep, I'm heading up there. So, everybody should have received, back in December probably, the, report for the Wabeek Lake, summary from 2024. Do I need to introduce myself or?
Yes, that'd be great.
Okay,
Thank
so,
you.
yep, my name is Paul Hausler. I'm the water resource practice leader at Progressive Companies. We were hired by the Lake Board to kind of oversee management, collect water quality data. I'm an aquatic biologist by trade. We did a study slash fish study and water quality last year, and then also did plant community study. That's what this report is here. I'm just going to briefly give the highlights. It was the plant inventory, or the plant surveys that we did were in June and August, and the one done on July 21, sorry, I had the wrong date, was conducted using the state of Michigan's detailed survey to ascertain the community health of the plant community. And there was listed on that survey, there was a total of 7 submerged species, which are completely in the water, underneath the water. There was 2 floating leaf species, and then there was a total of 5 emergent species. So out of those total species, there was 4 that are considered invasive, non-native, Eurasian milfoil, curly leaf pondweed were the 2 submerged species that were exotic, and then purple loosestrife and Phragmites, which are common throughout the county, are the 2 emergent species. Overall, the lake's health is pretty good. Explains about the water quality classification of lakes. Wabeek Lake is classified as mesotrophic, meaning it's a moderate water quality, between oligotrophic being the deep, clear lakes like the Torch Lakes. Lake Superior is oligotrophic, so those lakes generally have cold water all the way to the bottom, or the cold water at the bottom will support cold water fishes. There's enough oxygen all the way down to the bottom to support them.
Do you have any knowledge of orchard or pine if they're oligotrophic?
Pine Lake is not, it's mesotrophic. We do work on Pine Lake. Orchard Lake, it might be a little more towards oligotrophic,
Okay, but it's
but it's
also
probably
meso?
still also in the mesotrophic.
'cause
Sometimes people term those as meso-oligotrophic because they have some characteristics of oligotrophic and they have some characteristics of mesotrophic. Like if the clarity is really good, but the phosphorus levels are in the mid-range, then
Because
you
when
might
I
call-
drive by those two, they look much clearer than Wabeek Lake, and I was wondering if
Yep.
they were in the better category, but
Yeah,
they're in the same category as us.
slightly better, yeah, slightly better. There's also, there's a Carlson Trophic State Index that you can put, calculate that and and that, it's a 0 to 100 rating, and actually the lower number you have, the higher the quality. So I don't know if that's ever been done on Wabeek Lake. We could run those numbers on Wabeek if you
Can
guys
you-
are interested.
Can you give us a proposal for that?
Yep, we
Thank
can do that. It's not that big a deal because we already have the data. It's just plugging it into a formula. So that would be, we can do that in this year's, that would be part of it. We can do that.
Thank you.
Yep. And then, dissolved oxygen, the lake was stratified. If you go to page 8, it shows the water quality data. And we took, this shows the past 3 years of data, starting in 2021. The lake does stratify. These are all done in July through, or June through August. In 23, we took two sets of samples. But the lake was stratified during all of these time periods, and there was some oxygen reduction below about 10 to 12 feet in the lake. And then at the bottom, it was near 0. So what you would expect in those conditions is phosphorus, which is the nutrient that drives growth in aquatic systems, is typically higher when you have a 0 or close to 0 oxygen. What happens is the phosphorus generally binds to either plant matter or sediment. As that sinks to the bottom, it carries the phosphorus with it. If it's an oxygenated system, it's pretty much out of bounds or not useful to algae and plants. But if you have 0 oxygen, which happens when the lake stratifies, that part of the lake does not get reoxygenated from the atmosphere. So eventually the bacteria that are breaking down that material are using up that oxygen as they respire. So what happens is you get a redox equation that reverses. So under the oxygenated conditions, the phosphorus will bind to the sediment. When you reduce that oxygen or completely eliminate it, it releases back to the water, and then it becomes available to plants. The problem is most lakes, they only mix twice a year, in the spring and the fall. That's when the water temperature is uniform throughout, and you're getting that complete mixing. So you can sometimes get algae blooms during that time because that high phosphorus deep water can get mixed with the surface water, so it's available. But what also happens, some algae are able to use their cell, they have air vacuoles in their cells, so they can actually migrate vertically. So they're able to go down into that deep water, sort of mine that phosphorus and be able to use it. So they come up during the day, when the sun is out, so they're able to use that phosphorus. So that's why you see, even on lakes that are fairly good quality, you can sometimes get these harmful algae blooms because the blue-green algae are able to go down into that deep water.
Clever buggers.
Yeah, yeah,
Way to,
yeah, so,
way to adjust. Thank you, Paul, for
Yep.
the
And
overview.
one other question. The fish don't swim and survive in the 0 oxygen portions of
right,
the correct?
during the
of lake.
summer, yep.
Okay, okay.
Yep, so, yeah, they can withstand short durations. It's kind of like holding your breath, but they can't stay down there for more than a few minutes, so.
So, by the way, I thought the fish study was quite interesting. I mean, there's even the pike, northern
Yep.
pike in the lake.
Yes,
Lots of bluegill, of course, sunfish.
yeah, it was a good
amount
diversity of fish,
largemouth
yeah,
bass,
yep,
perch,
Wow.
and
That's
then
a
also
small lake.
some, it is, right, for
yeah,
this
the
diversity.
diversity.
And then, of course, some carp.
mhm, yeah.
Okay, get your pole
How do they
out.
get in there?
Yeah, I mean,
And all
we've
these fish
had
get
some
in there.
lakes where they have carp issues, and they've had like, depending on the lake, if it's big enough, they'll have like a contest to remove carp, like you get prizes for either the most carp or the biggest carp, things like that, because they are harmful, or they can be harmful to the system. They're not native, and they tend to root around in the sediment, so they kind of reduce the amount of healthy native plants you have, and they also can resuspend the sediment, which a lot of times, again, has those nutrients tied to it, so.
Makes the water look
Yep.
less clear.
Yep, it can make.
And my
make it
recollection of
murky.
the study was that they had a lot of the bluegill babies, or bluegill, whatever you call them.
Mhm. Yep.
And
the fry.
some,
Yep,
yeah, and some of the yellow perch too.
right.
And as a matter of fact, since I used to have spawning nets, spawning pods for the bluegill around my house,
Right.
we haven't seen the spawning pods, and we have seen the, I'll call them sharks, with their fins above the water, just
Yep.
cleaning up
That was
the.
the carp, probably.
Right,
Yep.
it was the carp.
Yep.
Just cleaning up the small fry bluegills that have been born or matured or
Yeah, we
whatever.
should have a little,
Today,
competition.
are you inviting us over for fish fry anytime soon?
You like carp?
In my golden fish bowl.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
So
bluegill are amazing.
we're gonna look at potentially dealing with the carp this
Yeah,
year.
right? That'd be great.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I think that was one of the few recommendations that he made, really. I don't think he called for any stocking at this point.
Right.
Wonderful.
The thing is, if you got a healthy fishery, you don't wanna really alter that condition by stocking things. So A lot
Right.
of people just
But
wanna
we can
stock
im-
fish.
We can improve the health of the fish if we get rid of the carp that are
Right,
eating them.
exactly. Yep,
Paul, you've given us a great education. Thank you.
okay.
Very
Yep,
interesting.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Yep.
thank you. Item number 7, consider approval of the general liability and directors and officers insurance policy received from Cincinnati Specialty Underwriters. Tom?
So last year, all Township Lake boards obtained directors and officers liability insurance. And this year, we're looking to add general liability insurance. Because of previous legal cases Wabeek Lake has been involved in, the price is slightly higher. So with the two combined, the total cost will be $6,863. That's been included in the proposed budget, which will be considered later in this meeting.
Do we potentially have a higher rating because of the prior incidents with regard to claims, and so that over time, at 3 years, we might go down in terms of our insurance premium?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Well, the other lakes are, where are they at? Like 2,500?
3,000.
3,000. So
Something.
that's about the delta we have.
Okay.
Between a
So-
lake with no prior experience and a lake
Okay,
with-
so the longer we go with no claims experience, the better we get as a premium.
we could cut this in half.
Okay.
though.
So we'll take a motion to approve.
Approved.
A motion from.
Support?
Support and support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. All right, item number 8, review the 2024 revenues, expenses, and fund balance report. Tom?
So in the packet is a fund balance report prepared earlier this month by the Township's accounting departments. The final report that they released yesterday is the same as what is included in the packet. Our notes are fund balance is at $24,000, which is slightly higher than the 15% balance that is recommended, which would have been $23,600. The reason why it's so high is because last year we didn't have the general liability insurance, so that invoice was never taken into
Paid,
account.
never paid.
Okay, any questions?
So my understanding is that this reserve balance is increased by last year's not unpaid insurance bill invoice, and that we also wanted some extra dollars in there in order to kill carp and maybe go for some extra studies on the lake, which would allow us to obtain proposals and quotes and then execute contracts in order to gain that additional data and information.
Okay.
And how long is this assessment is planned to continue till when?
Next 3 years.
Okay, so we did it last year then?
Yes.
Okay. We're really entering the second year of it.
Mhm.
Okay,
Thank you.
any other questions? If not, we'll move on to item 9. Confirm expenditures since last review, April 5th, 2024 through April 3rd, 2025.
So in the packet are all invoices that have been paid since the Lake Board last met in April of last year. They've already been handled administratively, so this is just a chance for the Lake Board to review the expenses and to confirm them.
Move we confirm the expenditures and
Support.
As presented.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes 4-0. Item number 10, review and certification of delinquent 2024 assessments to the assessor. Tom?
Every year, the Township Treasurer's Office prepares a list of delinquent accounts. The list in the packet was prepared in August of last year. Because the Lake Board doesn't meet regularly, it's handled administratively, but this list still has to appear before the Lake Board for certification. And there's 18 accounts on this list, but I imagine most of them have been paid up already.
Wonderful. Any questions on that?
Do we have frequent flyers who are repeatedly delinquent?
I have not analyzed the list to
Okay.
identify.
If you give me last year's, I'll analyze it
Okay.
for frequent flyers.
But make sure it's updated, because this is really a report that from August of 2024, so
Okay.
a lot of probably been caught up, I hope.
I was gonna say, don't read too much into the delinquencies. It's a process to make sure we get compensated, but I believe most of these get paid before they go in court.
I agree, and I know that. I guess the point is I just wanted to know who's,
Just late.
Just-
In this case, they're
just
late.
late.
Usually we generate
Let
those
me put
points.
it-
Fishing?
Yeah.
Let me put it this way, the Lake Board's not being harmed by these delinquencies.
I agree.
So, okay.
I agree.
We don't need to vote on that, do we?
Yes.
We do, okay,
So
so
I move we
Motion to certify.
confirm the delinquencies as presented.
support?
Support.
Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Passes 4-0. Item number 11, consider approval of Progressive AE contract with added oversight on aquatic plant control.
So Progressive AE has proposed a contract for this project year. The contract was reviewed by the Lake Board's attorney and various changes were made. I'll just note that the Lake Board were to approve the contract, it should be subject to renewed insurance. The one in the packet expired in April of this year. And that be subject also to obtaining a portion of the policy containing additional insured provisions and endorsements. And Jay or Paul could speak to the nature of maybe the added oversight.
Yes.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, go to the mic, please.
We're on TV.
All right.
You're a star.
So, yeah. So basically, the added oversight is we're doing an additional survey and we're providing treatment maps that are geo-referenced. So we have locations around the points that are around the lake that are referenced and some offshore points. And so we're able to provide that information to the application company, give them more of a prescription to treat the lake in the manner that we direct, and then we come back and make sure that it was done correctly by, seeing if the plants that were targeted actually died, and if they did, we make a recommendation of payment. If they didn't, then they need to come back and fix the situation before we recommend payment. So it's typically, about 2 to 3 weeks after the treatment, we come out to do our evaluation. And I think historically, you've done 2 treatments on
Yes.
the lake, so it'd be at least 3 surveys.
Okay, my understanding is that because of the geolocations, we've got more specific
Mhm.
areas and directions where the treatment can be applied and therefore potentially have better results.
Yep, yeah, we've seen that on other lakes, that once you give them more detail, more efficiency built up, you generally get better results, so.
Thank you.
Yep,
I move we approve, subject to the conditions
As stated.
enumerated by Tom.
Okay, support?
Approved. Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passes 4-0. Item number 12, consider adoption of the 2025 budget.
So in the packet is the proposed budget for the 2025 project year. The only, let's see if I can find. So it includes consultant fees, chemical treatments, the insurance, and then various administrative matters. The riparian, Jay and I talked about this budget earlier this month, and there were some conversations about potentially reducing the present assessment, but we decided to keep it as it is for this year.
Right. We're keeping it as is because of the fact that we're over-reserved by virtue of the unpaid fee last year. We're trying to keep the dollars and cents equal on a per-year basis, and to the extent that we have extra money in the reserve, then we're going to spend that down on the extra studies, such as the geolocating, oversight by progressive companies with respect to the treatment, et cetera, and bearing those additional costs.
Okay.
I move we approve the 2025 budget as presented.
Support?
Support.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, passes 4-0. Thank you. Item number 13 brings us to new business. Anybody like to talk about new business as related to the Wabeek Lake Board? If not, we'll close that and move on to item number 14 for adjournment.
Move we adjourn.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.